It's no secret that Mario Kart is one of Nintendo's most massive series. I mean, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has been the best-selling game on the Switch for nearly its entire lifespan, despite being a port of a game that was made for a failed console. Because of this, Nintendo is clearly going to continue to make more Mario Kart games. Mario Kart 8 has been Nintendo's premier Mario Kart title for almost a full decade, and when a new Nintendo console launches, likely in the near future, it's gonna need a new Mario Kart entry because 8 Deluxe simply can't be all reliable forever. In fact, we're finally seeing this current chapter of Mario Kart come to a close, as both Mario Kart Tour and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will no longer be getting new content. So the stars are starting to align for a brand new Mario Kart game to take the spotlight. The reality is there are several directions the Mario Kart series could take on a new Nintendo console. In fact, we have several ideas with more videos like this on the way. However, in this video, I'm going to be going over what we can expect from a new Mario Kart title in the form of a Mario Kart 9 specifically, and talking about how this game could work on Nintendo's next console. I'll be discussing both what I think is likely alongside what I think could benefit a Mario Kart 9 so that it can potentially be the greatest Mario Kart game in the series. However, before any of that, I should probably explain what I mean when I say Mario Kart 9. Well, first I want to address the elephant in the room because I know a lot of you are thinking it. Isn't Tour Mario Kart 9? And yes, a lot of people consider Mario Kart Tour to be the 9th entry in the series. And personally, I don't really care what you call it. When I say Mario Kart 9, I'm simply referring to a successor to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Basically, the next mainline Mario Kart title that's on Nintendo's next console. Whether the game is called Mario Kart 10 or Mario Kart X or something else entirely, it doesn't really matter too much. I've just chosen the name Mario Kart 9 as a placeholder because I think that it easily conveys what I'm talking about. So yeah, you don't need to do too much sleuthing to figure out what Mario Kart 9 is. Basically, just as we got Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS and then Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, Mario Kart 9 would be the exact same concept for Nintendo's next console. Pretty simple stuff, but for all the tour heads out there getting ready to tell me how it's actually Mario Kart 10, there's your own little tangent just for you. And with that out of the way, let's say that Nintendo takes the most obvious route and chooses the Mario Kart 9 option. For the last several generations, with the exception of the Switch, every Nintendo system has gotten its own brand new Mario Kart game, and with a new Mario Kart game, we always get new content. We can definitely expect to see stuff like new characters, new karts, and new tracks, and I'll certainly go over that, but one thing that you can also always expect a new entry to get is a new gimmick. Whether it's anti-gravity, mirror mode, bikes, or 2 characters in a cart, the gimmicks that each game introduces are what make them distinctive and help market new games to people who already own previous games. So if we get a Mario Kart 9, we can expect to see a new gimmick or two in that game as well, as gimmicks are what make a new Mario Kart a new Mario Kart. With that being said, what new gimmick do I expect to see in Mario Kart 9? Well, frankly, it's unpredictable. We've seen many different gimmicks introduced to the series over the years, and there are many new gimmicks that could be introduced in this game. However, what I want to see in the next game is more racers. Mario Kart is infamous for its chaos and randomness. Now imagine how chaotic it would be if that randomness was doubled, allowing for up to 24 racers instead of the standard 12. This would completely change the game, and the entire item system would likely have to be revamped as a result. Nintendo recently released F-Zero 99, and the massive amount of racers in that game was enough to turn a 30-year-old racing game into a really exciting experience. Imagine a brand new Mario Kart game with an absurd amount of racers. It would definitely spice up the series. Plus, assuming the next Nintendo console is significantly more powerful than the Switch, allowing for more racers to be displayed on the screen would also be a perfect way to showcase the increased capabilities of that console. Now, I still think that the 12 racers are here to stay, as I'm sure having too many racers could negatively impact the game for more competitive players, as it would wildly affect the consistency of the game. Rather, I would like to see more racers as an option. Instead of being limited to 12 players, you can race with up to 23 friends online, and it would offer a completely different experience that we've never seen before. I also think more racers would pair well with additional modes, such as a knockout mode. A knockout mode would work very similarly to something like Fall Guys. After each race, or maybe even a cup, the lowest performing racers are eliminated, and this continues until there is only one racer left. Starting a knockout tournament with 24 racers could replicate the mayhem that we've seen in Fall Guys and make for a really enjoyable experience. Either way, no matter how they incorporate it, 24 racers needs to happen, as otherwise it's just a huge missed opportunity in my opinion, because there's just so much they could do with more racers. Alright, now that I've talked about the next big gimmick, I'm going to dive into the typical Mario Kart stuff, such as characters, tracks, and whatnot. I'll start with new characters, as theoretically, this game could have the biggest roster in any Mario Kart game ever. After all, if we're getting more racers, it would make sense that we get more racers. From the beginning, Mario Kart 8 has always had a weird roster. I mean, we have stuff like an abundance of Mario and Peach clones, and also all 7 Koopalings getting their own slot, while the game launched with some glaring omissions of popular characters. Thankfully, the Booster Course Pass has sided more with unique characters that are popular among fans, generally, but I pretty much would like to see more of that. New characters could also be a great opportunity to give more obscure characters the spotlight for once. For instance, we could see Diddy Diddy the Switch Stop Primate. Yeah, a lot of people don't remember this character, but he's actually known to take people's phones and check if they're subscribed to Switch Stop. If not, he will relentlessly haunt their dreams, so if you aren't subscribed, you better do it before the next Mario Kart game comes out, or you'll be seeing this guy in your nightmares. For real though, I think King K. Rool is a prime example, as he was randomly brought back from Mario Sluggers on the Wii, and ended up being put in Smash because he's so popular at this point. I would also love to see Professor Egad make his Mario Kart debut, as he was originally planned for Mario Kart DS and then ended up being cut. Like, he's been a huge part of the Luigi's Mansion series for a while now, it's just his time. Lastly, I want to see more Mario enemies. Drybones and Shy Guy have always been really popular characters, I just want to see like a Goomba behind a cart. If that Limbless Mushroom could swing a bat, he can operate a vehicle and I will stand by that. It would just be really funny to see. Next, let's talk about tracks, and frankly, I don't think we should expect the amount of tracks we currently have in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as we have almost 100 tracks by now. 32 has been the standard until recently, and I think something like 48 could be fairly reasonable, since that's the same amount Mario Kart 8 Deluxe launched with, and it could consist of something like 6 Nitro Cups and 6 Retro Cups. As for the tracks themselves, I would love to see more new tracks that are based on specific Mario games. Imagine a track based around the Comet Observatory from Super Mario Galaxy, or a track where you can race inside Peach's castle as you explore the Super Mario 64 universe by hopping from painting to painting. There's so much source material that Nintendo could base tracks like these off of, and we've recently seen Nintendo make an entire Yoshi's Island track for the Booster Course Pass, so we know this concept would definitely work. Mario Kart 8 is the only HD game in the series, so it's certainly the most visually stunning. However, if we're getting more powerful hardware with better graphical capabilities, it wouldn't surprise me if we get tracks that look even better. There's a cool feature in Neo Bowser City where the track's rain can be seen dripping down the screen, as if it's actually pouring onto the camera's lens. Mario Kart 9 could take this idea even further. A desert track could feature a sandstorm that affects your vision as sand starts to cover your screen, or a volcanic track could fill your screen with steam as you drive over molten lava. There's a lot that they could do with this concept, and it would make the tracks feel more immersive. When it comes to retro tracks, it's pretty self-explanatory. They'll probably pick some of the most popular retro tracks and also bring back some tracks that have never been remade, just like we've seen in the Booster Course Pass. One thing I wouldn't mind leaving behind though is the city tracks from Tour. I think they work well in Tour, but in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I feel like a lot of them are forgettable. I hope if we do get any of these tracks, we get 1 or maybe 2 at the most. Since a lot of Mario Kart tracks have been remade at this point, I think a new game could be perfect to finally give us retro tracks from the Mario Kart arcade series. This series is often forgotten, but they actually have a fair amount of cool tracks, and this would allow people to play some of these tracks at home for the first time. I don't expect this to happen, but it just needs to, because it would be awesome. Moving on to karts, there isn't too much to talk about. Obviously, I can't predict every kart that's going to be in the game, but I do have some ideas. Weirdly enough, we saw some really cool concepts for karts in the Mario movie. They could just borrow some of these concepts for a new game. It would honestly be a perfect reference. Another thing about karts, since Mario Kart 7, you've been able to customize your karts by selecting 3 kart parts. And honestly, I would not mind seeing this go. It just feels like every time I introduce someone to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so much unnecessary time is wasted on the kart select screen. Having to make 3 different selections is confusing to new players, and veteran players just pick the roller tires anyway. I don't know if this is a hot take, and I don't hate the kart customization, but I don't feel like it needs to be a Mario Kart mainstay either. Plus, even if they keep the gliding mechanics, the glider could just be preset to your kart, like what used to be the case with tires before Mario Kart 7. Personally, instead of having a ton of individual kart parts, I would rather we just have as many karts in the game as possible, but maybe that's just me. Now let's talk about items, and there's a lot of items they could add. We could of course get returning items like the Mega Mushroom or the POW Block. Honestly, I'll take anything over the Thundercloud. And Tour also has a lot of unique items that aren't in 8 Deluxe, which would work well in a brand new Mario Kart game. But what about new items? Well, I propose a brand new concept that's never been done before. The No Nonsense 9. Okay, actually though, I would love to see some of the new items from Super Mario Wonder translated into Mario Kart. The Drill Mushroom could allow you to race while underground, allowing you to dodge items and even a shock. And you could also pop out of the ground up to 3 times to take out racers who are above you. I think it would be a great balance where it can be used both passively and aggressively. The Elephant Fruit could also work well. It would be similar to the Tanuki Leaf from Mario Kart 7, but instead of a tail, you would have an elephant trunk on the front of your cart, and you can press the item button to attack other racers with the trunk. I just love the idea of seeing more items from mainline Mario games in Mario Kart, and I think these items would fit perfectly. There's one item in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that's pretty divisive, and that's coins. Some people love them and some people hate them. To me, Mario Kart is still Mario Kart with or without coins, so I'm pretty indifferent as to whether or not they come back. However, what we absolutely do need is an item selection option. This was added as an update to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe alongside one of the waves of the Booster Course Pass, and it needs to return. It obviously gives more options to players who all want to play differently, and it's just just a very fun feature that can lead to some of the most chaotic moments in Mario Kart. Moving on to some additional changes I think we need to see. First of all, the way you unlock stuff in the game needs to return to its true form. In Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, almost everything is unlocked by collecting coins, which doesn't make any of the unlockables feel rewarding, whereas Mario Kart Wii basically had a perfect unlockable system. You would unlock different things such as characters, carts, and tracks through many different methods. For instance, some characters were unlocked when you would win a Grand Prix, whereas others were unlocked by being staff ghosts in time trials. The game would consistently reward you for trying out the game's many different modes, and it made everything you unlocked feel special because you never knew what you were going to get. I would absolutely love for Mario Kart 9 to take on Mario Kart Wii's approach when it comes to unlockables for this reason. When it comes to battle mode, however, I think the battle mode we have in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is practically perfect. The battle mode was completely changed from how it was in Mario Kart 8 on the Wii, and now we have 5 entirely different battle modes. Honestly, all a new Mario Kart game would need is some new courses and maybe one new battle mode, as 8 Deluxe already offers the best battle mode we've had in any Mario Kart game. However, earlier I mentioned the possibility of 24-player races. Well, this idea could be extended into a battle mode. If you thought 24 racers on one track is insane, imagine 24 drivers in one arena all trying to hit each other with items. It would be absolutely ridiculous and a lot of fun. Plus, instead of 2 teams of 6 for certain modes, there could be 4 different teams of 6, which could lead to a lot of interesting scenarios. Like maybe if one team takes an early lead, the other teams would start targeting that team and basically band together. This whole idea of having 24 racers is just such a fascinating concept, and I really think there's so much they could do with it, with battle mode being just yet another perfect example of that. Lastly, I want to talk about possible changes that could be made to the online system we currently have. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's online features have definitely become more fleshed out with recent updates. I mean, they randomly added room IDs after 6 years in their most recent update, so as long as a lot of these features return, Mario Kart 9 could have pretty decent online from the start. One thing I would like to see though is an unrated mode. Mario Kart uses VR to basically measure your skill level, and the higher your VR, the more difficult your lobbies become. It would be nice to just have a casual online mode where the lobbies aren't too sweaty and you can just relax while playing the game. Other than that, the online is pretty good where it stands now. Anyways, that's how a Mario Kart 9 could work. Again, it's pretty standard, as it's just a successor to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but there's still so much that can be done to shake up the series, and the traditional format isn't anywhere near stale. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we have even more ideas for how a new Mario Kart game could work, so stay tuned for those videos in the future. In the meantime, it's pretty obvious the next Mario Kart game will be on a new console, and you might be wondering what that new console would even look like. Well, we actually have a video all about the Switch 2 that goes over just that, so if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check that one out.